Hi everyone, welcome to the Operator Framework community meeting, and I'm going to share my screen so that you can all see the agenda. I hope you all can see my screen. Can somebody confirm?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Um, Camila, just now that we are talking about here, the RFCs also, you can put the RFCs here. The link for basically Google Doc, right? So you can put the link here as well, the Google Docs link. Okay, so few discussion points. If you have any topics to discuss, please add it to the agenda. And the first was, there is a poll in the community channel for time-based release. I should have actually linked the Slack for it. It should be here. Actually, I should link it here probably. So I think most of the time, most of folks have kind of voted towards 6 weeks. But there was some discussion. We had some discussions as well. Anybody have anything to talk about this topic?
Just
So, so
that
just sorry, go
sorry.
on.
I would only say something that is irrelevant. I would say that my suggestion only myself vote, so it's fine. I lose.
No, I mean
the
you never
first the
know.
first one.
You never know. You might come back because we said, right,
Yeah.
it's nothing written on stone. We do start with whatever it is, and then we realize to readjust because 6 weeks is too long. There is high chance we'll come back to 4 weeks or even 3 weeks, or even 2 weeks. I don't know, right?
Was almost unanimous the 6 weeks, so I think it's fine.
Mikale, I think you were saying something.
Yeah. Just to clarify, so we are going with 6 weeks now, or did you say that there were more discussions happening and something needs to be reevaluated?
No, I'm saying like, we had some discussion before the voting, that when I initially put the message, there were some discussions. But I think people kind of settled down. But in case if anyone have anything else to discuss or some concerns, I mean, we can discuss it now.
Got it. Yeah, thanks.
Cool. I see Joe on the document. Joe, I think he joined the call, right? Joe, are you
Yep,
here?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. So the next one, because the next one is like we had one action item. Let's go through the action items also, right? The old action items. I should have gone it first, actually. Sorry. The first one was I had action item to add a deprecation notice to OLM V1 roadmap. I haven't done it yet, so I'll copy it. I'll copy it to this action item as well. Make sure I'll do it this week. And then there is Camille and me needs to go through the roadmap and make sure they fix it. That's also we'll do it this week. There's another action item about creating a poll that is done. And another action item on creating a dashboard which will reflect relative priority of epics. So have created the dashboard, um, but it is not, it does not exactly reflect the relative priority yet. I wanted to, Joe, when you have time, we can work on this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we should probably talk about priority as a
Yeah.
community rather than,
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely discuss here, but I think there is more than what we can discuss in the community meeting. I think probably that's where more structure-wise, not exactly priority for each epic, is more of a structure which actually can, which is the next topic, which is the 1.x release train. I created a dashboard here we had this 1.1 epics, right? Then we needed something, we don't wanted to, I mean, last time we discussed that we do not want to create milestone for each release, rather than we want to do a time-based release. And so we want to have kind of a release train. Depending on what is done, we can just release it. And this board should reflect the things which are currently in progress, we are currently working on. It should reflect the current focus of the community and things we're working on. So created it. The next step to basically if you want to more effective, right? Obviously, you have to make it more effective. Then we had some epics we had 1.1 labels, right? We need to remove them now and make them all 1.x. Does that sound good to everyone? Because we want to have all the epics here in the same dashboard, 1.x release trend dashboard. And then depending on what we're implementing, we can place them accordingly. Or does anyone have other ideas or the way we want to do it? I'm not sure if I got disconnected or something. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, but you should stop sharing.
Yeah, I was not hearing me. I thought, maybe I got disconnected again.
No, I think you were good the whole time.
Oh, okay, cool. So so that we can do that. Like we can move all, I don't know, there is a common way I can actually move everything to 1.x at one shot. Probably not. So I have to go through one by one epic and basically add the new 1.x label, right? For example, if I open up this one and basically add a 1.x label here.
I think you can go to, if you click on the label epic. No, on the on the issues view, basically you can filter by existing label and mass apply labels from the issues view. I think it will be faster to
from
do
here, right?
bulk change. Yeah. Not sure if we should do it on the meeting, but there are ways to manipulate multiple issues.
Yeah. So
at the same time.
that's something we need to do. That's what I was saying. Maybe you can do it offline.
Do we have an interest to change labels on completed issues, or are we planning to only do it on any ongoing issues?
Oh, no, it should be all the open issues, right? Open epics specifically.
All right, sounds good.
So for example, if I just can filter here, right? With all the 1.1, that's a new epic. No, I don't want to write a new epic. We'll search. So these are all 1.1 epics. And if I select them and add 1.x, and then it should all show up in the new dashboard. Yeah. And if I refresh this dashboard now, yeah, it's all visible here.
Can I make a question?
Yeah.
Like my one, right? Transition from blah 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 from could be RBSA proxy. Then okay, the design we have the RFC, the documentation for the design now. So when that I prove, should I close the epic, or should we keep the epic because it has the implementation itself?
Yeah, the
Until
epic sticks around, right? So once the design docs are approved, then we move it into the accepted column. And then once we start implementing it, we move it into the in progress column or implementing column.
Okay.
And we would just keep adding more stuff to that epic for all of the individual issues and PRs that we end up doing for it.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And sorry, I feel silly after the
No,
explanation.
no, that's fine. Absolutely fine. No worries.
Yeah, it's you shouldn't feel this way because we don't have any documentation on the process, and like it's reasonable to ask those questions.
I think we should, on that topic, I think we should add
Yes,
an epic
exactly.
template that says, here's all the stuff you need to know about an epic.
I know it's because in my mind the app would close it only when finish everything, right? But then I look at the column design and saw the epic and I was, but it then make sense because it has the flow, is intuitive enough. I think it's fine. I think it was my cognitive problem. It's not a real problem. I think it's all okay. Just I was silly.
So at least I think, yeah, I mean, we should do that definitely. I plus want to add the documentation. And I'm sure new people who are joining the community or anybody who is trying to contribute to OLM would have the same question. So, um, Camilla, if you can just create an issue for that. Do you want to create an issue so that somebody can actually
Okay.
add documentation for that? Thank you.
Because I was the silly one, I should be punished and I should write the documentation
The
only.
documentation, no, I did not assign the document. I just create
No,
the
I
issue and
do.
somebody, whoever has the time can write the documentation, right?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Thanks. So do we want to, I mean, you guys all have access to this dashboard, right? In the back end, you should be able to move the epics up. Like we already know the epics which has 1.1 label, should actually move up. And then once things are aligned, then we can remove the 1.1 label altogether. We don't need that anymore. But for now, I did not remove it because it's easy to identify this way that, these are the epics we have previously identified 1.1. So relatively, they are higher priority than other epics for 1.x.
Okay.
Anything else you want to do here on this call? Joe, you mentioned about priority stuff. So do you want to discuss anything on this call specifically in your mind? You have anything in your mind?
Um, I mean, I think that list does not look like it's in priority order, but I was also just trying to drag stuff and it didn't seem like it wanted to drag. So I think offline, we probably still need to figure that part out before we actually, as a community, try to figure out what the
Yeah,
should be.
I always struggle with this dragging these things up for some reason. I have no idea why.
So
Maybe,
yeah, I guess like let's punt on that question for now then, because the views are not helping us. We'll just get in the way until we figure it out.
yeah. So we can fix it offline. That's fine. Then I'll move to the next one is the monorepo implementation specific discussions. Um, we have Epic for monorepo, which everybody is I think aware of, right? I mean, you can see in the view that monorepo Epic. And if you look at the Slack, we have actually having monorepo implementation specific discussion in a separate meeting, and that's in the Slack. Just FYI, anybody's not aware of it. The next, Camila, I think the contributor ladder can discussion can go last. Do you want to talk about your topic, transitioning from kube proxy, and there is a
That,
RFC for this, right?
yeah, that is simple. I think the document is good enough, like to receive the first round of reviews at least. People already commented, I already tried to address few things. Just that for the way move forward.
Right. And I think there is another RFC from Anik and Jordan about catalog query API endpoint. Anik and Jordan, do you guys want to talk about it a little bit?
So this is a work in progress here. We don't have the draft completed here, but I still wanted to be as transparent as possible because between, for example, this meeting and the supporting tools meeting, we've been having conversations in this area. So just trying to be transparent about developments in the area.
What does that means?
What does which mean?
The topic, catalog carry API endpoint. What is the goal?
So
Ah,
the problem domain is that the current catalog D API provides access to the catalog FBC, but only in an all or nothing manner. So right now, the endpoint that we have for the API provides you with the entirety of the catalog. And to provide a more efficient API in this, we're proposing a new API that will be more efficient in terms of data and time.
and will you have is the plan to have like more discussion in the follow-up meeting, the tooling meeting after this community meeting?
So I definitely want to bring it up there because we've had previous meetings, as I said, that have touched on the subject. I expect to try to capture as much as possible the dialogue on the topic in the RFC review itself.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. So I think all the topics are done now. So I wanted to talk about the contributor ladder topic. We have new new folks in the community joining the team in Red Hat or even like outside of Red Hat. So what do you all think about how do we like I think there was some discussion one-on-ones we had around there is some already like CNCF or Kubernetes has some process around contributor ladder and adding new maintainers. But I just wanted to bring this topic. We never discussed this in the community call, and this is the right place to discuss this. So the question is, how do you define the contributor ladder, and then how gradually people will become new maintainers? Would be the criteria for those kind of things?
In Kubernetes SIG, I think we have in Kubernetes itself, it has a criteria, right? Let's see if I can find the link, but it's more like if the person did two things can be, if he starts to contribute and did few things, can be a member. After that, if he done X things, can be a review. After can be approval and go once.
Can you
Maybe,
can you please find the docs kind of
yeah,
and link it here?
maybe we can just adopt it the same, and after if we don't like, we can we can change, right? Just for we don't waste too much time trying to figure out criteria. Let's see if I can find it here. Just a moment.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea to base our ladder on something existing. Kubernetes is probably a good idea. Um, I I think we probably shouldn't be just copy and paste. We need to simplify it a little bit because Kubernetes is a huge community, and I think the process is the threshold is a bit higher than what we need. If like maybe things changed, but the last time I looked into it and when I was going through the process, I think there was some sponsorship requirements, like someone from the community need to sponsor you joining the Kubernetes organization and things like that. So I think we need a bit simpler process, but basing it off Kubernetes, I think is fine.
Yeah. I will share the one that is more easier for me to find, right? That is in the Kube Builder. But if you, I believe that when Cheese was created, it came from other projects as well, right? And it has links for the Kubernetes upper things, as you said, that it has more details and they are more complex, right? I think, for example, this we can do something similar, right?
Have you shared the links in the chat or something, Camila?
I think yes. I should. I
Oh, here, got it.
Yeah. Maybe we can, like, for example, create a subset, right? Maybe we don't need the member, right? Because that is a more a Kubernetes thing. The only thing that the member can do in the Kubernetes ecosystem is because if you are not a member, all CIs that it requires the pro, the job you're running the pro, if you are not a member, you need some maintainer go there and give you okay in the pull request to execute the tests, right? If you are a member of the Kubernetes organization, then the pro jobs are executed by itself. I think that it doesn't matter for us, right?
Yeah, you're right. I think our jobs on GitHub Actions, and they run for every pull request, no matter member or not. At least in OLM v1. I think in OLM v0 we have something similar to Kubernetes upstream, where a maintainer needs to apply a label OK to test. But you're right about the v1.
Do
Then the,
we, go ahead,
go.
Camila. Go ahead.
No.
Did we have anything for like SDK or V0 in the past?
I think it's almost the same, right? Let's see if I don't know. Then if what I would say, I'm trying to find as well here as well. The other thing I would say is, like, if you look at the review, is like if you do 5 to 10 pull requests, review 5 to 10, then you can be a review. Then you have the approval. Let's see.
I
I'm
think I
trying
saw
to.
it somewhere about similar documentation from
I think we have
OLM
something
V0.
similar as well. Like
Uh,
a contribution, key, flow, contribution guidelines. Let's see now.
I am assuming we do not have a current documentation in our repo, right, for contributors. There is contributing.md though.
Ah,
What we collaborate.
let's see if I find it from the SIG or operator framework.
But yeah, anyway, I think that's fine. I mean, we can. I don't know how much we want to. I think just wanted to capture the like um, intent, like in terms of anybody have any concerns. I think as long as people are fine with following kubesig, the Kubernetes 6 projects contributor ladder or something which is similar, I think we should be fine. But just wanted to capture if anybody have any other concern.
So what Rashmi just linked to is already our defined governance for the operator framework contributor ladder. So
That
that's what we need to do unless we're going to amend our governance.
that is mainly the same, right? Like why we have the member as well in the operator framework is the same thing. It doesn't execute the jobs.
I'd have to go back and read what
I
it is.
don't remember
I
as
don't
well.
remember the context.
Yeah, I think we should adopt this one if we did that in the past where it is defined. And
I
that
think
is it.
member was like you get to be in the actual GitHub organization, which maybe, I don't know. I don't know what extra privileges. Oh, you can assign yeah. So the document talks about all of that. The whole purpose is like, we don't
Maybe
want
so.
just anybody to be able to edit issues and PRs and stuff like that. So it's not a whole lot different than being a member of
Yeah,
It
it's
was
more or
just
less the
a kind of
same.
Kubernetes org. The hurdle has always been, can we actually implement this without Prow and Tide? And probably a year ago, I went and asked the CNCF if they have any infrastructure for us to onboard onto an existing Prow or Tide instance, and the answer was no. So,
And then both Bryce and I attempted to use the Prow GitHub Actions action to see if we could approximate the behavior. And not only did it not approximate the behavior close enough, there were some significant gaps, but it also is a largely unmaintained, abandoned project, it appears.
yeah.
So we
So
need an option C.
I think we need to either write our own plugin essentially, which seems like a lot of work, or look at alternatives.
So sorry, I got lost. What is the problem? Like,
There's a lot of complexity in how the owners and owners aliases files work and who can do what, and Prow implements a ton of that.
yes,
And then
okay.
Tide builds on top of that by saying, well, now you can implement policy for when I'm going to merge stuff based on what labels exist and who can set which labels is configured by owners and owners aliases. And there's just this whole ecosystem that we don't really have access to. So we need to decide, how much of that complexity do we care about, or how much of that complexity is necessary to implement our contributor ladder the right way, or do we need to essentially amend our contributor ladder to align with something that's more feasible for us to actually implement?
The Kubernetes Siegel, that stuff that they do, like just to put the label. I think it would be the same for us, right? Just if I can approve, when I approve, that it can get merged when I put the law. But it's the Pro as well that do the merge. It's true. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not in
we
a
would have to
GitHub. Yeah.
re-implement Tide, and we would have to re-implement Prow and Prow's logic for who can put what labels.
I think that makes no sense. We need to do all this work, right?
So the one thing that comes to mind for me is to look at GitHub's code owners thing and see if, because that's sort of the built-in, here's how GitHub supports it. We're in GitHub, so therefore it's going to work. And then just the question is, can we somehow map our contributor ladder to that? And like, what would we have to change in our contributor ladder for that to work?
So Joe, right now, we do not have a file where the names are clear, right? It's somewhere it's hidden inside the GitHub team.
Yeah.
I think we should definitely change this to make it more explicit, right? I don't know what's the thought process behind keeping it as a team.
My guess is that we don't want to have to go to 15 repos when we want to add someone to a particular team, right? So it's like, if we have GitHub teams, then when we say, okay, well, we want to say that someone who's going to work on OLMV1 is going to be part of the OLMV1 team, therefore they have access in both operator, controller, and catalog team.
So hopefully things should be better with monorepo, right?
Um,
For V1, of
partially,
course. Yeah,
but we've still
partially.
got a bunch of other repos, so it's not a silver bullet.
So then, the challenge is now how do this implemented this model now, this process, because it said you need to get if you to become a approver, I think here somewhere. You need to have sponsored by two approvers from the same sub project, no objection from other approvers. How do you find out those other approvers? How do you like? We don't know
There's a
what
separate role called approver. Like the whole position of the contributor ladder is we can define in the repos who the approvers and reviewers are. We don't
Yeah.
have any explicit definitions of those yet because of the original issue, which is that we don't have Prow and Tide to actually implement them. So anywhere that you actually see owners files, like they're probably not reflective of reality. So in my opinion, like so I guess here's my opinion. What's in the contributor ladder is the ideal world based on what the original steering committee thought was the best thing to do. In theory, that's what we should build because that's what the steering committee said we should build. That's what our governance docs say. In practice, if it's not feasible to implement those, then we need someone to figure out what is feasible and propose amendments to the contributor ladder, which then likely triggers some other governance thing about how to amend it. And then we have to probably go to the steering committee and get the steering committee to approve the amendments. So there's a lot of work to do. Don't want to sugarcoat it.
Is that really valid? Because we don't have so many contributors so far, right? The point is, let's put in another way, right? Like, okay, the rule is that is great. We have already in the operator framework passing the committed, so we know what are the criteria. But then we cannot implement that because then we would need to have our own proud to manage the labels or
Right.
something
So
like
I'm
that.
not, yeah, so I think what needs to happen is we need to go and do a feasibility study, essentially, look at all the alternatives, figure out what could actually be done, and then make a proposal that amends the governance to say, here's what I've looked at, here's what I think we should do to change this to make it actually something we can implement. So my guess is that re-implementing, like having an implementation that implements this exact contributor ladder is going to be very high effort because it'll require building a thing and then maintaining it, similar to what the tool that Jordan and Bryce looked at before, but us basically having to fork it and build on top of it or build our own or something. The alternative to that is, well, maybe we look at code owners, or maybe there's some other GitHub action plugin that can implement something that approximates this, in which case, let's figure out what we would need to amend in the contributor ladder to align with what that tool does. But it's very open-ended. Like no one has spent the time to look into any of this other than what Jordan and Bryce have done.
Is it available somewhere like whatever Jordan and Bryce has found out? Apart from this documentation, is there anything else?
No, we actually we did it, funnily enough, as independent ad hoc actions to research it, and only found out after we had each done it that we had both done the effort.
Okay. So do we want to I mean any volunteer who wants to take a look into this? So there is some issues here I can see in the community repo.
So I think in regards to what we're talking about here, doesn't it make most sense for us to create an epic to go and do the research, to actually spend the time to go figure it out, and more importantly, to document it and share it so that we can cover the ground once, at least until state of the art improves, and not repeat.
I think we need to do that.
So like I can throw an epic on there to try to capture that if that's helpful.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, Jordan.
Beauty.
And so can you please add action item to your SEP as well?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we can come back to this probably. And anybody has anything else? Um, we can talk about it in future probably after the holidays. Yeah, those are the discussion topics. Anything else? Anything else for today's meeting? Cool. Thanks everyone, and I'll hope to see you again. Stopping the recording first.